Didn't even hear the bulldozer at first. What we heard was Grandpa Gus unleashing a string of curses that had make a sailor blush right as the brand new blinding white vinyl fence started cracking like cheap china. Guess the HO didn't plan for a 79-year-old war vet with nothing left to lose and a bulldozer named Mabel, did they? By the time I ran to the window, Grandpa was already rumbling down the driveway, perched on that old beast with the blade up high like he was charging into battle, and well, the 6-foot privacy fence didn't stand a chance. Slats flew everywhere like a flock of scared pigeons, and I realized two things at once. Briarfield was officially at war with my grandpa, and I'd never felt prouder to be a Jenkins. See, it all started with that fence. Like all the dumbest disasters in suburbia, do not a war, not even a big fight, just a fence put up by people who believe rules matter more than neighbors. Our HOA, Briarfield's own little lemonade mafia, led by Constance Merriweather, called it a beautification measure. We called it, "Hey, that's our only road to town." They decided our family's gravel drive, which had been here since the Carter administration, was now communal green space. No warning, no letter, just a bunch of dudes in polo shirts and khakis marking off the property like they were staking a claim for the queen. I remember sprinting to grab Grandpa. He was already out on the porch, arms crossed, chewing the end of an unlit cigar. "They're fencing us in." I told him. He didn't even flinch. "No, they're fencing me out." He said it didn't make sense until that afternoon when they sealed up our only path. No gate, no gap, nothing but a solid blinding wall between us and the rest of civilization. We called, we emailed, we tried everything. Radio silence, no notice, no explanation, just the sense we were decorative like yard gnomes with voting rights. The next morning Grandpa disappeared into the garage, ran his hand along Mabel's dusty frame and said, "Reckon it's time she took a walk." The roar that came next, if you've never heard a 1968 bulldozer wake up after 2 decades, just picture a grumpy dragon with bad knees clearing its throat. The cat-bolted birds took off, and I, still spitting toothpaste, sprinted outside just in time to see Grandpa punch it straight through the fence panels. Exploded screws went flying, and somewhere I hope a kombucha got spilled on some poor HO manager's lap. Most people would think that's the end, finds cops shame, but nope. I posted the video online. Joking Grandpa versus the fence, round 1. By lunchtime 100,000 people had watched. By dinner Grandpa was turning down interviews. "I didn't do it for the clicks, I did it for the road," he grumbled, but Constance and her crew wouldn't just take the L. That night we got a fancy cease and desist letter taped to the chicken coop threatening legal action, property seizure, even expulsion from the HO. "You can't kick out folks who never joined," Grandpa said deadpan, which yeah, we'd never signed their covenants. Our land wasn't even technically in their zone, but that's the thing about power, they stretch it as far as nobody's looking. Constance had been expanding her little empire for years, swallowing up properties and redrawing lines with every bake sale. And Grandpa, well, he's not just stubborn, he's a retired engineer, bridge builder, grain silo inventor, and a guy who once trained a raccoon to fetch wrenches. He's equal parts genius and menace. And Mabel, that bulldozer, was more than metal, she was family history on treads. That night while he oiled Mabel in the barn, he looked at me and said, "They forgot something. I built the map." And suddenly it wasn't just about a road anymore. I wasn't just a bystander, I was a rebel. The next morning Briarfield was buzzing. Half the town thought Grandpa was a hero, the other half wanted him arrested. Reporters called the diner, stopped charging him for coffee, and HOA folks plotted their revenge. When the board met, I went in Grandpa's place just to see the faces of the people who wanted to run our lives by laminated bylaws. Constance looked like she could kill a man with a smile. They passed a new rule, the Mabel Clause, banning all farm equipment near their lines, banning noise, banning, I swear, unauthorized gravel redistribution. Petty right. But Grandpa just laughed. "Girl, I rebuilt a bridge with tractor parts and a turkey fryer. I'm not losing to a zoning overlay." So he retaliated with style. He mowed fence, this in the lawn, then land of the free and kale, then a massive middle finger out of radishes. The neighbors, the media, even a nosy drone or two caught on people started leaving muffins on our posts. The tide turned. Even people who hated us started getting sick of the HOA's power trip. Then out of nowhere, a certified letter gold embossed HOA was finding us $1 $200 for mechanical aggression and planning to sue for emotional harm. Grandpa patched the chicken coop with a notice. That same night I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "I know where the original deed is. Meet me behind the library at midnight. Don't tell Gus." I almost laughed. It sounded like a bad spy movie, but curiosity won. I found Carlton Brubaker, the HO's own lawyer, nervously clutching a yellow deed. He said he couldn't sleep knowing he was helping a woman weaponize shrubs against a war veteran, and that Constance was about to use eminent domain to seize everything for a luxury wellness retreat. We had leverage, real legal leverage. I hid the deed under my floorboard, and just as I was catching my breath, a kid showed up at our door. 17, curly hair, heavy backpack. "Hi, I think I might be your grandson," he blurted. Turns out Grandpa had a long-lost son and Micah, this nervous kid from Minnesota, had come looking for family. That night dinner felt like a soap opera. Micah quietly eating, Grandpa processing decades in silence, me just trying not to spill the secret about the deed. The next day Constance posted notices everywhere. They were officially coming for our road. But now we weren't just holding a grudge, we had the deed, we had Micah, and for the first time, a sense of purpose. And so Grandpa looked at us and said, "Guess it's time for Mabel to take another walk." Only this time we were filing that deed. Mabel made it halfway before she gave out radiator busted, so the three of us pushed that rusted icon the last mile, the whole town watching, people cheering, cars honking. We got to the courthouse. Constance tried to talk Grandpa down, even hinted at some old flame between them. Turns out this war started as a broken love story, but Grandpa just looked at her and said, "That road's my history." And we filed the deed. The celebration was short-lived. Constance resigned, but Karen Flack's quiet, ruthless HOA's weed in the garden took over. She called us insurrectionists, brought in her own Bulldozer compliance crusher 9000 and announced plans to flatten the entire ridge for urban serenity. This time they were really coming. The whole town gathered at dawn expecting a showdown. Grandpa challenged her to a duel, Bulldozer to Bulldozer. One pass winner keeps the land. Karen, hungry for spectacle, agreed. They met in the middle of the field. Mabel, tired but unbroken, against the crusher. The machine slammed together. Metal screamed, engines howled. Mabel faltered, but just as Karen surged ahead, Micah leapt into Mabel's seat, jammed the ignition. One last impossible push. The crusher slipped. Mabel held the line, and the crowd erupted. Karen vanished into the crowd. We won. After that, the county recognized our road as a historical path. Grandpa hung the certificate next to Mabel's picture. Micah claimed the attic and brought the porch back to life. Grandpa joined a club of seniors who now spend Thursday nights writing strongly worded letters to the HOA and me. I went off to engineering school. Deed in hand, family behind me. The anniversary of the Battle of Briarfield became a community barbecue. No fences, no speeches, just food and stories. Sometimes I'd find Grandpa sitting with Mabel, hand on her frame, quiet but content, and as the sun went down, we'd stand on the ridge and look out over the land, knowing the fight was never just about fences or roads or bylaws. It was about drawing the line and then daring anyone to move it. So what do you think? Was Grandpa right to fight, or should we have just played by the rules? I'd love to hear your take. Where's the line between order and overreach, and when does standing your ground become something bigger? Let's talk about